Hello and welcome back to some game analysis. It's been a while now, but I haven't played any competitive chess in a while. But I'm fresh back from Doncaster Congress. 5 games, one on the Friday night, two Saturday, two Sunday. So plenty to look at. And let's get stuck into round one. Tournament kicked off at 7:30 on Friday evening, and my opponent played d4, and we got into a Grunfeld Defence. Now, how this normally works is white will take this pawn. I'll take back with a knight, which then allows them to get 2 pawns in the centre with tempo. I'll take, let them have this big centre, and then I'll attack it. So bishop g7, white will, develop, however, and then you throw c5 forward, and the idea is you're going to keep chipping away at centre. White can never take this because, that would leave his pawns all horrible, and that also loses the rook to this check. So white will defend his centre with something like knight f3, but you can just pin that straight away. Bishop e3, knight c6, and you just keep building the pressure on this centre. It's called a hyper-modern way of playing. I think I've explained that in one of my videos before, where you allow your opponent to build a big centre and then you attack it. It's nice because your developing moves come natural and they come with a tempo. But my opponent didn't play into any of this. My opponent actually after d5 played knight to f3. And so we just carry on as normal, bishop g7, castles, and c5. So same idea, we're going to chip away at that centre, and we're going to try and open this bishop and turn it into a monster. And if white were to take this pawn, you don't need to worry. You just throw queen a5 in, and, you've got threat to the knight jump in here. This knight's pinned, so when this knight jumps in, you've got 3 attackers on it. White won't be able to take back with a pawn, again, due to this check. And so white will have to defend the knight. You just grab the pawn back. It's nice and easy. But he doesn't do that. He castles. And now he's castled. I should take this pawn. The problem is I don't. I play knight c6. And I think that's a little bit of a mistake because white can now grab this pawn because it's not so easy for me to win back. I can't go queen a5 because white's currently threatening this pawn as well. So I've got to deal with that problem. White can then take the queens off the board, and how easy is this pawn going to be to win back now? White will grab this, and he can play a3, b4, protect this. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm sure if you ran the engine on this, it probably still thinks it's quite equal, but it looks maybe a bit awkward. I think as soon as white gets castled, you should take this pawn. Um, but white doesn't take, so I use the opportunity to take it, and then I also take this pawn. And the idea is I want to leave him with this isolated queen's pawn in the middle of the board. This gives me something to target. So it's a weak pawn. It's isolated, which means it hasn't got any other pawns that can protect it. It can only be protected by pieces, which means if I play it right, eventually I can win that pawn. White gets compensation in the fact that his pieces have more activity, and white eventually will want to push this forward and trade it off because it's weak. So my plan will be to block this square, preferably with a knight. Knights make the best blockaders of isolated pawns or passed pawns, just because, the way they move, they're still pretty active even when they're just sat on a post. So bishop g4, just pinning that knight. Bishop e3, just developing and defending that pawn. Rook to c8, bring my rook to the only open file. And then white retreats his bishop to e2. I'm guessing he was feeling pretty awkward about this pin. And then I play knight to d5, get the knight on that strong square, and we trade. And my opponent plays rook to c1, also grabbing this open c file. And now, according to the master database on Lichess, we're still in the master lines of one game back in 1992. And in that game, black played rook f to d8. But I didn't play that in this position. I played e6. Like I say, I don't want this pawn to start walking forward and for white to be able to trade it off. So I want to clamp down on this square. And eventually, I'm going to move this queen and stick this knight on this square where, no pawn will ever be able to kick the knight. And I should have a good game. But white gets rook c5 in. I drop back to d6. White plays queen to d2. I'm guessing he's just clearing this back rank to bring his other rook in. He's also making this bishop and queen battery, so he might have ideas of coming to trade my bishop off at some point, which would be good for him because this bishop's the main defender of my king. It would leave these dark squares pretty weak, and if I can ever win this isolated pawn, this bishop's going to be a strong piece on that diagonal. I now play rook f to d8, and yeah, maybe I could have played. I was looking at b6 here to kick this rook. This rook's quite strong along this fifth rank. Um, but the problem is I was a bit worried about this knight becoming weak. If he ever drops back, once he doubles up, this knight will be pinned to this rook, and he can put more pressure with the bishop. But maybe I'll just move the knight straight away. It's probably not a problem, but I just felt safer keeping this pawn here, defending the knight, and keeping this keeping this c file closed. So I played rook f to d8, rook f to c1, doubling. That makes sense. And now I played knight to e7. Again, I want to get my knight here, but I think, according to the engine, this was the right time to go to try and win this pawn. And I have been looking as well, but it just felt a little bit complicated. So basically, I should chop this knight, and then once the bishop chops, I can round this pawn up. So, I can grab this pawn. But I was just worried about certain moves. I was worried about maybe, now I've grabbed this pawn, it opens things for him. He's got these two bishops, it opens up. He's got these rooks doubled. He's got this queen here. I didn't know if opening things up was so good, but, I looked at maybe he can attack me here, but actually, this queen's undefended, so I've got tactics. I can check him here. Obviously, threatening to take, so he has to take, and I actually win a second pawn. I haven't seen that. There's also, if he takes, I can take with a knight, which looks like I'm hanging a rook, but the problem is, again, this queen's undefended here. I'm threatening if he ever takes the rook. I take here. I'm going to win the queen. Game over. And the line I did look at was this, 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 which is like, yeah, I've won a pawn, but then he's just going to win a pawn here because he's got three attackers on this knight. So he's going to go take, 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 win his pawn back. But actually, if I continued calculating, I would have realised he can't take that pawn because take, take, checkmate. So I saw as far as, if we make all these trades and I win this pawn here, he's then just gonna win this pawn. But if I'd continued to calculate a few moves deeper, I would have seen that actually he's just going to get checkmated on the back rank. But like I say, unfortunately, I didn't go for any of this. I thought, I don't know, I didn't fancy opening it up. I was scared, I guess. So I played knight to e7. But that's bad. I should have gone for that pawn because now he starts getting quite active. He drops his bishop, attacking my queen. I drop back. He then attacks me again, forcing my knight to go back to c6. And this was starting to look pretty scary. And then he jumped the knight in, which looked really scary because obviously, he's got these bishops crisscrossed and he's got these rooks doubled. He's now got his knight in attacking my queen. And, obviously this pawn's hanging. But again, I was a bit scared. I was like, oh my God, it just looks like it's going to be carnage once to take that pawn. There'll be tactics everywhere. But I've got to take this pawn. It's the only good move. Taking this knight with the bishop is no good because, I'm not going to trade off. I'm not going to trade off the defender and my king and leave all these dark squares weak and leave him with that dark squared bishop. Obviously I can't do anything with the knight because I'm pinned. It's pinned to the queen. So I had one good move only, which is grab this pawn. And yeah, there was just so many lines here. I didn't know what to calculate. I was thinking, is he just going to drop the bishop back and attack me? And then, well, actually, no, he can't do that, can he? Because he's going to lose a piece. But yeah, I was looking at all sorts. But actually, it turns out, yeah, this is just good for me. He traded the queens, which I was happy with. And then the thing is, I'm always attacking this. And if he takes this bishop, I'm still attacking this. So I was thinking, okay, if he doesn't play this right, this is going to be okay. And it turns out that I was scared for nothing because he doesn't really have anything. The best, I think, if I remember rightly, his best move is to just drop the bishop back, and he's just a pawn down. Um, but I'm guessing he's maybe got pressure on here to ever win this pawn. But he didn't do that. He grabbed that bishop. I grabbed this bishop, and now this is pretty good for me because this knight's pretty awkward, right? It can only go to one of these squares, and if he goes to this square, I'm going to grab another pawn. I was already looking. I was like, okay, if he goes here, my bishop can either. I was looking at this, maybe force some more trades, or I can either grab a pawn with tempo. If he, if he moves his rook, I'll grab another pawn with tempo. So I'm thinking, okay, it looks like he's got to play knight to e5. But once he plays that, I'm going to take. He takes. I take. He takes. I go here, and again, we're just in an endgame now where I'm a pawn up. It looks a little bit scary as he can get this. on this 7th rank. But what's the move here? Yeah, rook d4, just threatening mate. He's got to deal with that. Say g3, and then yeah, it looks like I just attack this bishop, drops back here. Yeah, we're fine. We're absolutely fine. So yeah, I didn't need to be scared of all this. But I was happy at this point, obviously, when he played up to the here, and then he went knight e3 instead of e5. So I was like, okay, now he's really starting to collapse because bang, I grabbed this pawn. That's a second pawn with tempo. He played here like I thought he would. I grab a third pawn. I'm now 3 pawns up. This is completely winning. Is all I need to do is stay focused, don't make any mistakes, and it's just a matter of technique, as I say. He bought another rook back here. I attack it with tempo. He attacks me. I don't need to move the bishop because the rook's already defending it. But I decide to move the rook here. I thought, I've had end games in the past where I've left rooks in kind of bad positions and paid the price for it. So I just wanted to bring this rook back to a really nice central and active position before things started to happen. White played g3, was obviously worried about, if he ever moves this knight, I've got the checkmate on the back rank. So he just makes loft for his king. I'll go knight to e7. If I remember rightly, maybe I'm assuming I just wanted to jump here and here. And obviously, I'm offering a trade already. I just want to make trades. So all I've got to do is make trades. He avoids the trade, attacks my bishop. I drop back. He moves the bishop, putting pressure on this pawn. I block it off. He plays bishop f3, attacking this pawn again. I defend it. So just shoring everything up. The moves are coming quite easy. But we are getting low on time now. And then he plays knight to c2, and then almost instantly I played rook to d2. I've now put in 2 attackers on this knight, and if he moves the knight, I get to force a trade of rooks, which is really good for me. He moves the knight back, and now I'm like, okay, bingo. I'm going to be able to take this knight, take this rook. We're going to get trades. It's going to be easy for me. I took the rooks. I was looking if maybe I could take this first, but I was getting a bit low on time. I didn't spend enough time calculating it. But I just thought, okay, we're going to get the same line anyway, because if he takes, I take. And it's going to be the same the other way around. If I take this, he's going to take, and then I'll take and take. So we end up in exactly the same lines. But actually, what I missed was I take here, and then he can't take here because of this, and then this, where I just went even more material. And yeah, same again. If he goes here, it's actually just checkmate. He can block, but yeah, it's mate. So I missed that, but like I say, I was low on time and I was just trying to play quick, simple, easy moves. I didn't want to get into anything complicated. So I traded the rooks. I traded the knight, giving him another isolated pawn. And now I've got 2 passed pawns. And I thought, right, this is easily winning, but we've only got a couple of minutes left each. Just don't do anything stupid. And at this point, my 2 mates who I'd gone to the tournament with, Steve and Dan, Steve was stood over watching, but Dan was stood back over at the door. And when I finished, he was like, I couldn't watch. He was like, I'd have had to stand in the door. I couldn't watch because he just thought I was going to balls it up somehow. Because usually I do, especially when I'm in time pressure. But I didn't. I played b6, obviously just stopping any threats of this pawn being captured. He attacked this pawn, but it's currently defended by my rook. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to push these yet. I'm going to just get my king active and gain a bit of kingside space. So played king here. He bought his king. I gained some space, bought my king in. And now I was like, okay, now I'll start pushing them. b5. He came in wanting to get behind the pawns. I offered the trade, which he declined. I pushed a5. He come behind, push. And unfortunately, I don't have the rest of the moves because we both only had like a minute left, and yeah, we wasn't writing moves down at this point. We were just making moves and smashing the clock. It got pretty scary. I'm not going to lie. I think if I remember rightly, I can't remember what I did, but he came after this pawn and I sacked it. I pushed that one. He took the pawn. I got the rook behind it, pushed. Think he managed to get his rook in front of this B pawn. But yeah, we had it where I had a B pawn on the second rank, defended by my rook. His rook was obviously frozen on the B1 square, stopping it from promoting. That then allowed me to bring my knight and my king in, and yeah, I converted it into a win. So yeah, it was a nice game to start off with. it was pretty equal until he just got a bit too keen coming from my throat, jumped that knight in, and allowed me to grab that central pawn, and things just got crazy. And yeah, I managed to convert. So giving him that isolated pawn at the beginning obviously worked well. Managed to win that pawn, and once I won that pawn, he just started to collapse a bit, and I converted the win. So yeah, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next round. Thank you.